Hey guys, I apologize for the delay. There was a power cut at my place, so we've successfully established the connection now. So just before we start off the session, just everyone give me a confirmation if I'm audible or not. So I'll wait for a confirmation from you guys and then I'll go ahead and start the session. So that'd be a 10-second delay from my side. So guys, all of those folks who are attending the session, please give me a confirmation. Okay, great. So I'm getting a lot of yeses from you guys. Awesome. Right. So today's agenda is Python for non-programmers, or basically introduction to Python. So this is for all of those folks who would want to venture into this field called as Python programming, but you guys don't really know where to start off and what exactly to learn. So in this session, we'll be covering all of the basics of Python. Great. Now, also before I start off the session, I'd like to inform you folks that we have a free learning platform called as Great Learning Academy, where we offer more than 80 courses with respect to domains such as data science, artificial intelligence, machine learning, digital marketing, and so on. So link for Great Learning Academy will be there in the chat, so you guys can check the link for that. And also, what you can do is once you complete the course, you will have a certificate of completion. So you can use that certificate, you can add it to your LinkedIn profile, or you can also add it to your resume. So that will be a huge value add to you guys. Great. So in today's session, what we'll do is we'll look at some basics of Python. We'll look at some basic data structures, which are tuple, list, dictionary, and set. And we'll look at various forms of those. So let's start with understanding what exactly is Python. So Python is a free and open source software. Now, what do I mean by free and open source? So it's just plug and play. All you have to do is install Python once and then you can start having fun with it. So it's as simple as that. And Python is also a cross-platform compatible software. Now, what do I mean by cross-platform compatible? So Python is a language which can run on any operating system. So if you have a Windows system, then you can run Python on Windows. If you have a Linux system, then you can run Python on Linux. Similarly, if you have a Mac, you can go ahead and run Python on Mac. So it is as simple as that. And Python also is an object-oriented programming language. So you mostly have the programming languages are divided into procedural languages and object-oriented programming languages. So Python is one of the most widely used object-oriented programming languages. So now you guys must be thinking, what exactly is object-oriented programming? Now to answer that, let me actually pose a counter question. So when you see around you, what do you actually see? Right? So you see a lot of objects, isn't it? If let's say there's a laptop in front of you, what exactly is that laptop? That laptop is an object. If there's a phone in front of you, what exactly is that phone? That phone again is an object. If there's a dog in front of you, what exactly is that dog? That dog is a living object. So all of us are surrounded by objects, and if we want to represent these real life objects in programming paradigm, we would need the help of object-oriented programming language, and that is where Python comes in. And the best part about Python is it also consists of a large standard library. So it provides different libraries for different purposes. So let's say if you want to perform data manipulation, then there'll be a library for that. If you want to do data visualization, then there'll be a library for that. Similarly, if you want to implement some machine learning algorithms, there'll be a library for that as well. So these were some basic features of Python. So now that we know this, let's go ahead and see how can we install Python. So to install Python, you'd have to go to this particular site over here. So this is www.python.org/downloads. So let me just click on this link and let's just wait till this opens up. Right, so this is the site. And as you see, this is the latest version of Python, which is 3.8.3. So I'd recommend all of you guys to work with Python 3 and not Python 2 because Python 2 is now redundant. I mean, you can code in Python 2, but then again, everyone is shifting to Python 3. So if you haven't installed Python already, and if you're just starting with Python, I'd request all of you guys to go ahead and download Python 3 instead of Python 2. And as I've already told you, since Python is a platform independent language, you can download Python for whatever operating system you're using. So if you have a Windows system, you can go ahead and download Python for Windows. If you have a Linux, you can go ahead and download Python for Linux. Similarly, if you have a Mac, you can go ahead and download Python for Mac. Since I have a Windows system, I'll just click over here and the download is automatically starting. So this is the exe file. So once this is done, I just have to run it and the wizard will take ahead and install Python. Now this is done. So once we've installed Python, we would also need something known as an IDE. So what exactly is an IDE? So simply put, IDE stands for Integrated Development Environment. Now, if you work with other programming languages, so let's say if you work with Java, then there's an IDE called as Eclipse. Similarly, if you work with R, then there is an IDE called as RStudio. If you work with C or C++, then there's an IDE called as Turbo C, Turbo C++, Dev C++. Now, what do these IDEs exactly do? They make your coding even more easier. So, what happens is, let's say you don't have to remember the entire code. Let's say if you don't remember some piece of code, it gives you prompts, and with the help of those prompts, your coding becomes much more easier. And it also contains different tools and sort of features which would make your task of writing code very, very easy. And two such popular IDEs are PyCharm and Jupyter Notebook. So if you want to install PyCharm, you can go ahead to jetbrains.com. So jetbrains.com/PyCharm. You should go to this link and you will have a download option over here. So as you see, you have the download button, click on that, and you have the professional version and the community version. So you can just go ahead and download the community version, because I don't think you'll be doing a lot of stuff since you're just a beginner. So you can just go ahead and download the community version over here. So this is one such IDE. But nowadays, everyone, when it comes to Python, they are using Anaconda. So Anaconda gives you an IDE called as Jupyter Notebook. So this is Anaconda, as you see over here inside. So when you download Anaconda, it will give you an IDE called as Jupyter Notebook. So a Jupyter Notebook is a browser-based interpreter that allows you to interactively work with Python. So let me just go ahead and click on this link and let's go ahead and download it. So guys, if you have any question, you can post it. I'll take up all of your questions. So as this is a live session, I'll be taking up all of your questions over here. So as you see, this is Python over here. Now go to this individual edition because that is what we want. So you have the download button over here. You guys can just go ahead and click on the download button, and as you see, you have different options. So there's Windows, Mac and Linux, and again, since I'm using a Windows system, I can just go ahead and download this 64-bit graphical installer, and when I download this, that will automatically give me the Jupyter Notebook. As I've told you, Jupyter Notebook is a browser-based interpreter. So what is a browser-based interpreter? So all of your code that you'll be writing in so it is sort of a browser-based interface, and that makes writing code very, very easy. So Pankaj is asking, what exactly is Anaconda? So Anaconda is a distribution which provides you different set of tools. So let's say if you just have to work with Python, then you'd have to install everything from scratch. But if you go ahead and just install Anaconda, it will give you all of the different libraries. So libraries such as NumPy, Pandas, Matplotlib, and also it will give you the Jupyter Notebook IDE along with it. So that is why most people go ahead and download Anaconda. So Shahid Anwar is asking, do companies use Jupyter Notebook for programming? Yes. So majority of the companies, 80% of the companies use Jupyter Notebook for programming because it's very easy to share this .ipynb files. So when you write code in a Jupyter Notebook, the extension is .ipynb. So you can just go ahead and share the .ipynb file to anyone who's working on the project, and they can go ahead and modify the code. Right guys, so I'm just going through your questions over here. You guys can go ahead and keep posting the questions. So since this is a live session, I'll try to cover as many questions as possible. There's a question from Mr. Fit. He's asking, can you tell me which is better in terms of salary, software engineering or data science? Because I want to make a career in IT domain. So that would depend a lot on which domain you're working in and what is your expertise. So let's say if you talk about core software engineering, you have roles such as software development engineer. So you have SD1, SD2 and SD3 roles over there. And similarly, if you talk about data science, then you have the machine learning engineer roles, you have the data scientist roles, you have the data engineer roles. So let's say if you now if we talk about SD1 or SD2, now these roles are mostly specific to product based companies, and for that purpose you would have to have a concrete knowledge of data structures and algorithms. You need to have knowledge of linked lists, tags, queues, graphs, searching, sorting algorithms and all of that stuff. And when it comes to data science, you need to have a comprehensive grip about statistics or of the machine learning algorithms. You need to know about different data pipelines. So in terms of salary, I'd say that totally comes down to your expertise. So if you're good at what you're doing, then you can earn equally in both of the domains. It's just that the skill required for both of them are a bit different. So if it comes to SDE roles, then you'd have to work on DS and Algo. And if it comes to data scientist roles, then you need to have more expertise with respect to statistics and machine learning and data pipelines. So Shahid Anwar is asking, if I learn Python only in Jupyter Notebook, will it be enough? So again, Jupyter Notebook is just an IDE. So to implement all of the Python code, you can either use Jupyter Notebook or PyCharm or just plain simple Python idle. That is totally upon you. So Parveen is asking, is working of Python IDE and Anaconda Jupyter the same? Yes, IDE. So irrespective of whatever IDE you guys are using, the Python code will totally remain the same, right? So there'll be no change in the Python code at all. So you can go ahead and use whatever Python code you want. So now that this is clear, what we'll do is we'll actually go ahead and open Jupyter Notebook. So this is my search bar. So to actually work with Anaconda, you just have to type in Anaconda prompt over here. So once you download Anaconda, this is what you get. Now inside this, I have created another environment called as TensorFlow. So that will go ahead and look at later. Now if you want to open up Jupyter Notebook inside Anaconda prompt, you would have to give the command Jupyter Notebook, and when you hit on enter, the notebook will automatically open up. And this, what you see, is known as Jupyter Notebook, right? So as you see, this is what you get. And over here, I have different files. So all of these are, I've got CSV files, JSON files, .ipynb files, and so on. Now, if I have to create a new Python notebook, you'd have to click on this new tab and then select Python 3. So this way you are creating a new Python 3 notebook. And then let me just go ahead and give a name to this. So I will name this as Introduction to Python. So I have successfully given a name to this. So seems like there's already a file like this. So Introduction to Python Programming. Right, so I have successfully created this. Now what we'll do is we'll just go ahead and write our first program. So our first program, I'll just go ahead and I want to print something. I'll just use the print command over here. And inside this, I'll type this is Sparta. And let me click on run. So when you click on run, whatever you write inside the cell, that will be executed. And as you guys see over here, we have successfully executed this. So if you just want to print out something on the console, you can just use the print command, and this is a string. So I'm enclosing this string inside double quotes, and this is what I've printed over here. Now you have all of these different tabs over here. So file, with the help of file, you can go ahead and create a new notebook. You can save this as something, you can rename this. Also you have the download as option over here. So now mostly whenever we are working with Jupyter Notebook, we download this as .ipynb. So right, this is a Jupyter Notebook and we download this as .ipynb. Then we've got the edit tab over here. So let's say if I want to cut a cell, copy a cell or delete a cell, then we've got all of these different options. And then I've got the insert button. So let's say if I want to insert a cell above this, then I'll select this. Similarly, if I want to insert a cell below this, I'll go ahead and click on insert cell below. So these are the different operations which you can do. And then we have something known as a kernel. So kernel is what actually runs your code over here. So let's say if you want to stop this or shut down this, you can go ahead and shut down the kernel. So these are the different options which you can go ahead and perform over here. Okay, so I'll just check if we have any questions. So Pankaj is asking why we create notebook. You can consider a Jupyter notebook to be a separate file. So let's say if you are let's say if you're working with Java, then you have to create a separate Java file, isn't it? So similarly, you can consider a Jupyter notebook to be a separate code file, and in that separate code file, we are writing all of the code. So Tanushri Roy is asking what is the difference between data analyst and data scientist? So when it comes to data analyst roles, there's a lot of pre-processing work which goes on. Now, when you work with data, so that data initially which you take from different sources, that is very raw data. So you'd have to convert that raw data into, you'd have to give it proper form of data. So to do that, what you do is you deploy different data manipulation and data visualization operations over there. So let's say for that purpose, let's say if you're using Python, then you have packages such as Panda, and if you're using R, then you have packages such as dplyr. So using these, you go ahead and give the untidy data a proper structure, and then you try to find out insights from it so that you can understand what exactly is the structure of the data. So when it comes to a data scientist role, what happens is you take this proper data and you go ahead and build some algorithms on top of it to either predict something or classify something. So this is the basic difference between a data analyst role and a data scientist role. So data analyst mostly works with converting the raw data into a proper data, giving it the right structure, and a data scientist takes this proper data which is in the right format and then goes ahead and tries to find out some information by using either some predictive or classification algorithms. So I hope that answers your question. So I'm just going through your questions, guys. So Sujit is asking, as a mechanical engineer, will it be easy to learn Python, AI, and machine learning? Well, it is actually easy. So all you need to know is, if you know the basic concepts of Python, then you can go ahead and use those basic concepts of Python in data science and machine learning algorithms. So it's just that you need to have the right equipment to learn a programming language. So let's say if you're starting to learn Python, then just learn all of the basics of Python, and then you can use the basics of Python to you can use it for different purposes. So you can either use it for data science or machine learning purpose. You can use it to develop a web framework, or you can use it to even for game development. So that's totally upon you. Right. So now that we've done this, let's go ahead and we'll work with some basics of Python. Now, when you're working with any sort of programming language, your first task is actually to deal with data, isn't it? So if you're working with a programming language, or all you're essentially doing is working with data. Now, if you're working with so much data, you would have to store this data somewhere. And this is where variables come in. So let's say if you'd have to store these three names over here, right? So you've got John, Sam, and Matt, which are, let's say, names of your friends, and you would want to store this data somewhere. So what you'll do is you will go ahead and store these values in a variable. So what exactly is a variable? You can consider a variable to be a temporary storage space. So as over here, this is our variable, and inside this variable, we are storing this value called as John. And the name of this variable is student, and you'd have to keep in mind that every variable has its own address associated with this. So I'm storing the value John inside this variable, and the address of this variable is this. So to give you some more context to this, let's go ahead and create some variables. So I'll just cut these cells over here. And now let's say if I want to create a new variable. So this is how I can create a variable. You just give in a name to the variable, you use the equal to symbol, and then you give in a value inside this. So let's say I'd want to store Matt inside this. Now let me just go ahead and print out friend. So as you see, I have successfully stored the value Matt inside friend. But as I've told you, a variable is a temporary storage space. So you can go ahead and change the value which is stored inside a variable. So initially I had stored Matt. Now I'll go ahead and change it to Sam. Let me run again. And now as you see, the value has changed to Sam from Matt. Similarly, I'll just go ahead and change this to George. So now as you see, I have changed the value which was stored in friend to George from Sam. So this is how we can work with variables in Python. So I hope you don't have any doubts over here. So Anwar is asking, I am pursuing BCA. Can I learn Python? Absolutely. So, irrespective of whatever degree you're doing, I believe Python is a very easy language. So I'd actually recommend people to learn Python instead of other programming languages. So let's say if you compare Python with a programming language such as C++ or Java, then Python is much more simpler when compared to C++ or Java. So Bikash is asking, I'm from arts background. I want to learn Python. Can I learn Python by self-study? How much time is required to learn this course? And can you please guide a non-IT student in the DS field? Yes, so as I've been telling you guys, so irrespective of whatever background you guys are from, you can go ahead and learn Python. It is actually quite easy. So you just need a proper structure towards it. So what you need is, so you will have to start off with the basics of any programming languages, which are the data types, variables, and operators in Python. Once you learn this, you can go ahead and learn more complicated stuff such as flow control statements. So in flow control statements, you have decision making statements and you have looping statements. Once that is done, you can go ahead and learn about object oriented programming. And then you can work with different libraries in Python such as NumPy, Pandas, and Matplotlib. So once you know the proper structure of how to learn Python, then it becomes very easy for you guys to learn. So let's say if some of you guys are prefer to learn in Hindi, then we've got a comprehensive tutorial in Python in Hindi as well. You guys can go ahead and check that out. So I believe that will help you guys in understanding Python much better. So yep, it is actually quite easy to learn Python. So Preetham is asking, what should I learn after completing Python? So I'd actually suggest to work on more open source projects once you have completed Python. So also when you say completed Python, you'd have to know with from what perspective you have learned it. So let's say if you have worked on more of the machine learning packages, then you can go ahead to sites such as kaggle.com and participate in all of the data science competitions over there. So that will help you guys a lot. Right, so also let's say if you have worked with Python with respect to web frameworks such as Django or Flask, then you can go ahead and work on more open source projects where you're developing more of web frameworks. So these are something which you can go ahead and work with. Right, so we'll head on to the next set of things. So we have learned how to create a variable. We've done this. So we had created a variable and we had stored three values inside a variable. Now let's understand what exactly is a data type in Python. Now before we head to this, again, all of the folks who are new to our channel, I'd request you guys to please subscribe to our channel, as we'll be coming up with more such high quality tutorials, and we also conduct more such live sessions. So you guys can register to our channel for more such updates of our live sessions and of our future courses. And also we have launched a free learning platform called as Great Learning Academy, where we have more than 80 courses with respect to domains such as artificial intelligence, cloud computing, data science, and so on. So once you complete the course, there'll be a course completion certificate which you can go ahead and add it to your resume. So that should be a huge value add to your resume as well. So I'll just go ahead and check some of your questions again. So Pankaj is asking, is there any certificate available for Python? There's no such certification, but if you want a certification from us, you can go ahead and register at Great Learning Academy. So we've got a comprehensive course with respect to Python and Hindi, and there's also a comprehensive course for Python for machine learning. So the link for the courses will be available in the chat. So once you complete the course, you will get a certification for that. So there's a question from 4 Elements who's asking, your video shows till oops, after that it shows numpy, it means Python is finished with oops. Well, till object-oriented programming, that is something which is common with all of the aspects of Python. But when it comes to, let's say, NumPy, Pandas and Matplotlib, so let's say if you want to be a game developer or if you want to be a website developer, then learning about NumPy, Pandas and Matplotlib, that will not be much of a value add to you guys. On the other hand, let's say if you want to be a data scientist or a machine learning engineer or a data engineer, then these libraries are very, very important for you to learn. So without mastering these libraries, you won't be able to implement most of the data science or machine learning tasks. So I hope that answers your question. Right, so now we'll start with what exactly are data types in Python. So as it is stated over here, every variable has a data type associated with it. Now again, there's a lot of data which you're dealing with, isn't it? So let's say if you're dealing with numbers, then it is known as an integer data type. So let's say if the numbers are 10, 500, 1000, 300 and so on, then you're basically dealing with integer type numbers. So the data over here is integer. And then let's say if you're dealing with decimal point numbers, so numbers such as 3.14, 15.97 or whatever decimal point number is there, if you're dealing with such sort of numbers, then these are basically floating point numbers. Then we have Boolean values. So Boolean values are basically true and false type. So it's either yes or no, true and false, 0 and 1. So these are the sort of data which you can work with when it's Boolean. And then you have string. So string, as we've already seen, is basically enclosed within single or double characters. And you can just go ahead and make some statements with these string characters. So I'll just go ahead and work with some different types of data over here. Now let's say if I want to create an integer type, so I'll name this as A, and inside A I will store the value of 100, and let me print out A over here and let's see what do we get. So as you see, we have successfully created an integer type variable. So let me check the type of this. Inside type, let me pass an A, and as you see, this is an integer type variable. And now I will go ahead and change the value to 3.14. So initially I had stored 100 in A, now I'm storing 3.14 in A. And as you see, I have printed out 3.14. Now let me also go ahead and check the type of A. So this time you see that this is a floating point number. So the data type of the variable totally depends on the value which you feed into the variable. If you given a numeric type, then the data type of the variable will be numeric. If you given a floating point type, then the data type of the variable will be floating point type. So we have given these two, and then let me go ahead and let's say given store a string value over here. Let's say I store Sparta inside this. Now let me print out A and let me check the type of this. So as you see, we have created a string type variable. Now similarly, let me go ahead and store a Boolean value. So true and false are the two Boolean values over here. And inside A, I am storing the true value this time. And let me check the type. So when I see the type, this is a Boolean type data type. Right? So these are the different types of data which are there in Python. Now let's go ahead and work with operators in Python. So we've got these basic operators which are arithmetic operators, relational operators and logical operators in Python. So with the help of arithmetic operators, we can perform basic arithmetic operations such as addition, subtraction, multiplication, division and so on. And then we've got the relational operators. So with the help of the relational operators, we can check what exactly is the relation. That is, if one operand is less than the other operand, or if the value in another operand is equal to the other operand, or if it is not equal to the other operand. So these are the different sort of relations which you can find out with relational operators. And then we've got the logical operators, which are basically and, or. So we'll understand about these logical operators as well. So first we will go ahead and work with arithmetic operators. So let me just add a comment over here. So I'll type in arithmetic operators. Now, let's say if I have the value 10 inside A and similarly I store the value 20 inside B. So as you see over here, I have created these two variables. So arithmetic operators are just plus, minus, subtraction, division. So if I just put in A plus B over here, I get a value of 30 because 10 plus 20 is 30. Similarly, let's say if I put in A minus B over here, I get minus 10 because 10 minus 20 is minus 10. Then let me go ahead and change this to A star B. So you use the star symbol to multiply two operands. So A star B over here becomes 200 because 10 into 20 is 200. And then let's say similarly if I change this to a forward slash. So forward slash over here means divided by. So when I run 10 divided by 20, I get a value of 0.5. So these are some basic operations. So these are some basic arithmetic operations. So I'll see if you have some more questions over here. So Sainath is asking to share the PPT. So the link for the PPT will be available in the chat description. So you can go ahead and download the PPT from over there. Guys, please keep posting your questions as this is a live session. I'd like to answer all of your questions during this live session. Kunal is asking, are there any open source projects available in Great Learning Academy? Yes. So when you go ahead and enroll for our courses, so let's say if you enroll for the machine learning with Python course, then there's a end project, there's a capstone project. So you'd have to complete that project to earn the certificate. So similarly, for most of the courses to earn the certificate, you would have to either complete the assignments or the projects. So you can go ahead and practice your skills over there. Prashant is asking, is it right to switch from network engineer to data science after 3.8 years of experience, and can company will consider my experience? So there are basically two parts to your question. So one is, can you switch from being a network engineer to data science, and the second is, will your experience be relevant? So let me put it this way. So you can switch to data science irrespective of irrespective of whichever domain you are in. So that really wouldn't be a problem. But when you talk about, is your experience relevant? So let's say if you are completely switching to a new role. So as you told, you are a network engineer, but from being a network engineer, let's say if you shift to a data scientist role in maybe a pharmaceutical industry, or maybe your data scientist role in e-commerce industry, then you'll be counted as a fresher. So what you can do is you can learn these data science skills and apply those data science skills in the same domain. So I'm pretty sure there would be a lot of openings in the networking domain as well for data science roles and data analyst roles. So there what you can do is, when you learn these data science skills, that will be a value add to you more. So that is something you can go ahead and do. So Ajit is asking, can I explain indexing and slicing of lists? Yes, I can. So that is actually so once we complete the basics of it, then we'll go ahead and cover tuple, list, and all of that. Akshay is asking, how can we become a data scientist? Well, that's a very generic question. So simply put, to whoever who wants to be a data scientist, there are some basic things which everyone must know. So the first part is statistics. You need to be really good with statistics. So you need to learn concepts such as hypothesis testing, central limit theorem. Then there are different concepts in probability. So you need to learn about Bayes theorem. You need to learn about probability distribution, all of that. Once you're good with statistics and probability, you need to either be good with Python or R. So I'd actually recommend to be good at both of them, because let's say if you learn one language, then learning the other language is not really a big deal. So statistics, probability, Python, R, and then you need to learn all of the machine learning algorithms. You need to learn the underlying concepts in them. So you need to learn about linear regression, logistic regression, decision tree, random forest, SVM, and so on. So these are some basic stuff which you'd have to cover. So once you cover this basic stuff, then it's all about your skills, how much practice you've done, or how in depth you know these algorithms. So these are some basic things which you definitely need to know if you want to be a data scientist. So Alien Code is asking how to get started for artificial intelligence after learning Python. So again, if you want to be an expert in artificial intelligence, I'd say learn more of machine learning, because artificial intelligence or deep learning is basically a subset of machine learning. So once you've learned Python, I'd say learn the different concepts in machine learning. Once you're clear with that, then you can work with frameworks such as TensorFlow, Keras, PyTorch, and so on. So with the help of these frameworks, you can implement different deep neural networks. So also in deep neural networks, you'd have to learn concepts such as convolutional neural networks, recurrent neural networks. Then there is there is something known as Boltzmann machine. So these are different things which you'd have to learn. Ratnapriya is asking, is Python better with game development, or being data scientist is way better? That is again a question which you'd have to answer for yourself, Ratnapriya, because that is, let's say, that is what you'd want to do as a career option. So for some people that want to deal with data, they like dealing with data, they like dealing with puzzles. For some people that like, creating aesthetic games, that want to, create more of fun stuff. So that is, I'd say, totally dependent on you, on what you'd want to work with. Right, guys. So I'll take up the rest of the questions later. So we have covered the arithmetic operators over here. So after this, let's go ahead and work with relational operators. So I'll just type in relational operators. Let me add in a comment. So I'll type in relational operators. Let me click on run. Now in relational operators, we basically get to see if one variable is greater than the other variable, or if it is less than the other variable. So over here again, I'll use A and B. So as you see over here, I've got 10 stored in A, I've got 20 stored in B. Now let's say if I type in A less than B, I get a true value because 10 is less than 20. Similarly, if I put in the greater than symbol over here, so this time I'm checking if A is greater than B. And over here I get a false value because 10 is obviously not greater than B. Then I'd want to check if the value which is present in A is equal to the value which is present in B. Again, I have a false value because 10 is not equal to 20. Now over here I'll just put in A is not equal to B, and this time I get a true value. And I get a true value because again 10 is not equal to 20 over here. So these are the different types of relational operators which we have. And after this we have something known as logical operators. So logical operators are AND, OR. So this is how you represent the AND operator, and this is how you represent the OR operator. Now I'll change the values which are present in A and B. So inside A I'll have the value true, and inside B I'll have the value false. So I've got these two set over here. Now the AND operator gives you a true result only when both of the operands are true. I'll repeat it again. The AND operator will give you a true result only when both of the operands are true. But on the contrary, when you're working with the OR operator, then you will get a true result when either of the operands is true. So let's say over here I type in A and B. I get a false value because true and false is false. Similarly, if I change it to B and A, again I get a false value because false and true is also false. Now when I have A and A, so A and A I get a true value because true and true gives me true. And when I finally put in B and B over here, I again have a false value because false and false is obviously false. Now I'll go ahead and work with the OR operator. So this time I'm typing in A or B, and as you see I get a true value because true or false gives me true. Similarly, let me change it to B or A over here, and B or A again gives me true because false or true is again true. Now if I change this to A or A, which means true or true is again true, and I'll get a false value only when both of them are false. So over here when I have B or B, which is basically false or false, I get a false value over here. So these are the different types of operators which you work with. So if you have any questions, you can keep posting them. So Surya is asking, are any top companies using Python as the main source? Yes. So all of the top companies, so if you talk about Microsoft, Google, Amazon, all of these companies, so the data scientists who work over there, you can bet 100% that all of them are using Python for implementing their data science operations. So Python and R are in very close competition. So if you want to develop an end-to-end product, then they'll be using Python. And if you want to create quick prototypes, then you're working with R. So Pankaj is asking, can we create dashboards with Python? So what you can actually do is you can work with web frameworks such as Django and Flask. So with the help of these web frameworks, you can create not only websites, but you can also create dashboards with them. So that is something you guys can look into. Saurabh is asking what level of Python one should know for data science. So when it comes to data science, these are the essential libraries. So NumPy, Pandas, Matplotlib, and scikit-learn. So these are the four libraries which are extremely essential if you'd if you want to work with data science as a beginner. So I'll repeat the libraries again. So you need to work with NumPy, Pandas, Matplotlib, and scikit-learn. So if you're good with these, then you can go ahead and easily implement most of the data science concepts. So Abhishek is saying that he knows Fortran, C and C++. Can he use them for data science? You can use them, but then again, most of the code which is written for data science purposes these days, it is written in Python. So I mean, there's nothing stopping you in working with C++. And actually, when you compare C++ with Python, C++ is actually much faster than Python. But then again, all of the companies are moving towards Python and R to implement their data science operations. And also, I believe if you know C and C++, if you know one programming language, it shouldn't take you much time to learn another programming language. So I'd say go ahead and dive into Python and don't really, I mean, there's nothing much to be scared of. If you know the basic concepts of Python, then you can go ahead and implement most of the topics with Python. So Anwar is asking, in future will Python replace OOPS languages like Java and C++? I'd say all of these languages have their own importance, but when it comes to data science, I'd say that 90% of most of the data science tasks are done with Python and R. So it's very few applications which are developed with Java and C++. Right, so if you specifically talk about data science, then in the future it is Python which will be the leader. So but if you talk about general purpose development, then Python I'd say is in sort of equal competition with Java and C++. Lena is asking, so she basically says that she has 8 years of experience in .NET language, and to become a data scientist, does she have to move in Python language? So again, as I've been telling you, so .NET, again, that is sort of a legacy system. So you would have to learn Python to implement most of the data science operations. So I'd actually suggest that you start learning Python. Saurabh is asking, as a beginner, which language should one learn apart from Python? So if you again talk about data science, then I'd say learn R or Python. So if you don't want to learn Python, then you can go ahead and learn R. R is also equally easy. Right, so I'll take up the rest of the questions in a while. You guys can keep posting the questions. So also guys, so again, if you haven't yet subscribed to our channel, please go ahead and subscribe to our channel, as we'll be coming up with a lot more live sessions, when we'll be uploading a lot more high quality tutorials with respect to Python, data science and artificial intelligence. So your subscription would encourage us to come up with more such high quality live sessions. Also, if you guys don't know about Great Learning Academy, then it is a free learning platform where we have more than 80 courses with respect to different domains. So we have courses with respect to artificial intelligence, full stack development, data science, digital marketing, statistics, and so on. And once you go ahead and complete the course, you will also get a certificate of completion. So you can use that certificate of completion, you can add it to your LinkedIn profile, and you can also add it to your resume. Right, so I will go ahead and I will take up the rest of the questions later. So we've not covered much in today's session. So those were the different operators. Now let's see what exactly is a Python string. So we have already seen one example of a Python string over here. So strings or Python strings can basically be put in either single quotes, double quotes, or triple quotes. So over here, as you see, we have created a string called as hello world, and this is in single quotes. And over here we have created a string called as this is Sparta, and this is put in double quotes. Now if we want to create a multi-line string, so for multi-line string we can use triple quotes. So as you see, I am going to France tomorrow, this is put inside triple quotes over here. So this is how we can work with strings. I'll just go ahead and create all of these three strings over here. So first I'll just create str1, and this string I'll create with single quotes. So inside this I'll be storing hello world, and let me print out str1. So we have created this string, and similarly let me go ahead and create my second string. So this second string I'll be creating with double quotes, and inside this I will type in this is Sparta. Let me also print out str2 over here. We have also created this. Now let me go ahead and create a multi-line string. So here I would need triple quotes, and inside this I'll type I am going to France tomorrow. Let me run this and let me print out str3. So as you see, we have created this new string where we have the string in different lines. So we have this slash and basically means a new line. So I am going, and after that we have a new line, to France. After that we have a new line, and then we have tomorrow. So basically we have this entire sentence, I am going to France tomorrow, and then we have two lines in between. Right, so that was how could we create a Python string. Now let's see how can we extract individual characters from a Python string. So let's say if we create a string like this, and I'm just storing the value my name is John inside this variable called as my string. If I'd want to extract the first character from this, all I'd have to do is given the name of the string, and I'd have to given the parenthesis. So this what you see is known as the parenthesis. I'll give in square braces, and in this I will give in the index value. So for a string, the indexing starts from 0. So as you see over here, the index for this letter will be 0. Index for this letter will be 1. For this it will be 2. For this it will be 3. So the indexing starts from 0 and it will go on. So if I want to extract the first letter, so the first letter is present at index number 0. And as you see, I have extracted this letter M from this entire string. Similarly, let's say if I want to extract the last character from this entire string. So for that purpose, I can use -1. So you just have to give in the name of the string over here, which is my string, and inside parenthesis, you'll just type in -1. So when you type in -1, you are extracting the last character from this. So as you see, we have printed out N. Now let me just go ahead and create a string called as my string, and I will store this is Sparta. Inside this, let me again print out my string over here and let's see what do we get. So as you see, we have got this result. Now out of this entire string, I would want to extract only the first character, which is T. So I would have to give in my string and I'd have to give in square braces. So if I want to extract the first character, I will type in 0 because the index of the first element is 0. So when I type in 0, as you see, I have extracted this. Similarly, if I wanted to extract the second element, then the index of the second element will be 1. So I'll type in 1 and as you see, I have extracted the second element. And if I want to extract the last element from this, I will type in -1. And as you see, I have extracted the last element from this entire string. So these are some basic string operations. Now let's also go ahead and look at some basic string functions. So let's say if I want to find out the length of the string, then I have this len method. So inside this len method, I just have to pass in the string which I have created. So if I pass in my string, it will give in the length of the string. Similarly, let's say if I want to convert the entire string into lowercase, then I can use dot lower method. So first I will use in the name of the string and I'll use dot lower and that will convert the entire string to lowercase. Similarly, let's say if I want to convert the entire string to uppercase, I just have to use the dot upper method. So as you see over here, I use the name of the string and then I type in dot upper and that will give me the entire string in uppercase. Right. So I've got this over here. So now let's say if I want to check the length of this, I will just use len and inside len I will pass in this string and let's see what is the length of this. So as you see, the length of this string is 15. Now as you see over here, T is capital, but I want all of the characters to be in lowercase. So I'd have to use the dot lower method. So over here I'll just type in dot lower. Let me click on run and as you see, I have converted all of the characters to lowercase. Similarly, if I have to convert all of the characters to upper,